Good morning. Officers ready to go live? Okay. Before starting the hearing, I just wanted to say I have one AirPod in. I'm testing it because our sound system is sometimes muffled, and I saw there's an adjustment on the AirPod that it helps with hearing. So quite a few of us have, been thinking about it, so I'm testing it. But if anyone objects to me using it today, please let me know and I'll take it out. I don't have anyone talking to me in my ear, and I won't be accepting phone calls or listening to music. But it's a good thing to find out about if it actually works. Welcome to RBKC's Licensing Subcommittee, and thank you for attending. This hearing is being live streamed. I'm Councillor Janet Evans, and I will be chairing this meeting. The committee for this hearing comprises Councillor Priti Hub and Councillor Abdullahi Noor and me. We are joined by Dave Williams from the Council's licensing team, our legal officer, Lindsay Lemasurier. Also with us are our committee officers, Holly Weaver and Jerome Treherne. Before we start the hearing for this case, just a few ground rules. Please keep your microphones on mute until you are invited to speak, as only 2 microphones can operate at once. And please make sure your mobile phones are on silent. Thank you. The case before us today is to vary a license for Dishoom Permit Room, 186 Portobello Road, London W11 1LA. I confirm that I have no declaration of interest to make regarding this item. Do the other members have any declarations to make? Councillor Hud?
No, none.
Councillor Noor?
I have no interest on this case, madam. Thank you.
For clarity, I will outline the procedure of the meeting, which has already been circulated with the papers. First, the licensing officer, Mr. Williams, will give a brief outline of the application. Please, could you confirm your attendance?
Good morning, Chair. I'm here.
Then I will ask the applicant's legal advisor, Mr. Haith Thomas, to present this submission. He will have up to a maximum of 10 minutes to do so. He is joined by his client, John Colbran, who may be able to assist members should they have any questions. Please, could you confirm your attendance?
Good morning, Chair. Yes, I'm Heath Thomas, solicitor for the applicant, and next to me is Mr. John Colbran.
Thank you. Then questions may be asked by members of the committee and the legal officer of the applicant, followed by questions from the objectors. Next, the objectors, Sophia Lambert, Teresa Hastings, and Jackie Griffin, they will present their objections. They will have up to a maximum of 10 minutes each to do so. Please, could you all confirm your attendance?
Jacqueline Griffin, yes, I'm present. Thank you, Chair.
Teresa Hastings, I'm here.
Thank you.
Sophia Lambert, Ladbroke Association.
Thank you. Then questions may be asked by members of the committee and the legal officer of the objectors, followed by questions from the applicant. After this, we will ask our legal officer, Ms. Lemasurier, to deal with any questions she may have, and then we will lead on the draft conditions session. The list of potential conditions has been circulated to all of the parties prior to the hearing. Please, could you confirm your attendance?
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Then finally, we will turn to the governance team to see if any issues have been raised that we need to consider. There will be no summing up and the meeting will end. I would like to remind everyone that the committee has read the papers, which comprises the main pack and the additional submission from the applicant, withdrawing that part of the application seeking to vary conditions 13, 18, 19, and 20. So there is no need to repeat their content, but please do draw our attention to certain points and pages. Now let's get going. Mr. Williams, can you outline the case for us and advise if there has been any additional documentation received?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Today's application has been submitted by Dishoom Limited for a variation of the premises licence in respect of Dishoom Permit Room, 186 Portobello Road, London, W11 1LA. The current licence permits the sale of retail on and off the premises Monday to Saturday 1000 hours to 0100 hours and Sunday 1200 to 2330 hours. The applicant is seeking to alter the layout and licensed area of the premises and vary the hours for the sale by retail of alcohol on and off the premises to Monday to Sunday 0800 hours to 0100 hours and Sunday 0800 hours to 2330 hours. The original application also sought to amend conditions, but I believe this part of the application has now been withdrawn by the applicant. A summary of the proposed hours and conditions can be found on page 6 of today's bundle. The licensing authority has received representations in respect to this application, one from responsible authorities being the Council's Noise and Nuisance team. A summary of that representation can be found at pages 7 and 8 of today's main bundle, and a copy of the full representation can be found at Appendix D. Also, 10 representations from other parties opposing the application, including comments from the Ladbroke Association and Pembridge Association. A summary of these can be found on pages 8 and 9 of the main bundle, and a copy of the full representation can be found at Appendix E. Council records show that at this time this report was written, no noise complaints have been received in the preceding 24 months. No temporary event notices have been submitted in the last 12 months, and the Planning Department has made no formal representation in connection with this application. Other than the list of proposed conditions that are to be considered if the committee were minded to grant the application, there's been one additional document I'm aware of, being an email from the applicant's solicitor withdrawing the previously mentioned conditions from this application. That concludes the summary of today's application, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Now for the applicant's case. Mr. Thomas, please can you advise if there have been any further amendments to your application?
Chair, there are no further amendments to the application.
Thank you. Can you now present your submission? You have up to 10 minutes to do so.
I'm grateful, thank you. So the application has a number of facets to it. The first one being a variation to the layout of the premises. That part of the application is uncontentious. There are no representations before the committee that object to any of the changes that have been proposed internally. And that being the case, Chair, with your agreement, I propose to say no more in terms of the proposed internal changes to the premises. The points that I would make, they seek to reduce the area for licensed consumption of alcohol, and you'll note that from the changing of a tasting room that was located in the basement historically, and a boardroom that was located on an upper floor, ceased to be used in that particular way and will become non-licensable areas which will be used as storeroom facilities and kitchen facilities in the building. But as I say, in terms of the proposed structural changes to the premises, they don't feature in terms of any representation that's before the committee today, and so I would simply be inviting you to approve the structural changes to the premises. The second limb of an application was to invite the committee to consider extending the terminal hour for use of the outside areas. That has been the most contentious issue in any representation that's come from interested parties and also the responsible authority, EHO. My clients have taken on board those comments completely and in fact contacted the licensing authority and informed the authority that that part of the application then would be withdrawn, and ask the licensing authority to duly notify all interested parties, which I'm aware that they've done so. And so we do not need to dwell on that matter either in terms of the variation of those proposed conditions. The one point that actually remains in contention is really that part of the application where my client has asked for permission to bring forward the permitted hour for the sale of alcohol to 8 a.m. But not in a way that is designed to make this a free-for-all vertical drinking establishment from 8 a.m. in the morning, but rather it's to deal with those occasions, and my clients will fully accept they're limited occasions when customers may have a special occasion or want to come in and they'll have a meal, have a breakfast, a full proper table meal in their premises, but may want, for example, a Prosecco or a glass of champagne or a Bloody Mary, that type of consumption of alcohol with a meal. And it is normally often associated with a form of a special occasion or a celebration. And my clients accept that it's limited occasions in which that arises, but it's something that we have and do adopt elsewhere in our premises, where we operate it and manage it in a way. From our own experience of operating our premises, we do not then fall victim to becoming a vertical drinking establishment at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we propose a condition on the licence then that would restrict any consumption between 8 and 10 to be ancillary to a table meal, so that the committee can be assured that we are not simply then just becoming a vertical drinking establishment earlier in the day. Now, that's an application that's been consulted on, and you'll know from the Home Office guidance that the Metropolitan Police are the principal source of matters of crime and disorder for you to contemplate if there was any concern in bringing forward those hours to 8 a.m, whether or not genuinely that would give rise to a concern of crime and disorder. And there is absence of comment from the Metropolitan Police, and you can only sensibly conclude from that that Metropolitan Police and their licensing officers, whose role it is to then respond on these matters, are content that no concerns of crime and disorder would emanate from a condition attached to these premises to permit that sale of alcohol to people who would be dining in the premises between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. So I ask you please to take that on board and particularly take on board that guidance that comes from the Home Office as well in terms of the comments and the way in which I present it to you. Now, that is my client's application. It is a licence that is an on and off sale licence, and so my clients would, if it were granted, would ideally like the committee to contemplate that 8 a.m. be permitted in the internal and external area, subject, of course, to an appropriate tables and chairs licence being in force. That a tables and chairs licence isn't a matter for this committee today. That's a separate application to the local authority. But it would be inviting you to consider that application. Clearly, it's only matters that are going to, and areas that are going to be used during good weather, as we know, in our current climate. But it's a limited scope in terms of its application, and I think it's properly put forward. My clients operate it elsewhere, manage it very successfully, and they fully accept that it's of limited scope in its entirety. It's certainly not the case that their premises are full to the brim from 8 a.m. with people wanting to have breakfast and some sort of alcoholic drink. It's certainly not the case whatsoever. So those are the matters that are before you. In terms of the representations that are before you, then principally, as I say, the lion's share of those go on to discuss what we're seeking to change conditions of 13 up to 20 and take matters up to 11 o'clock. Those have been addressed. The matter that, in terms of the 8 a.m. sale, the comments that are before you are comments such as, if you were to allow people to come to my client's premises and consume alcohol from 8 a.m., then it's going to lead to revellers turning up. Well, I think that cannot be borne out by that condition, by the a condition of having to have food. That these people children on their route to school may see these people consuming alcohol. Well, we don't prevent consumption of alcohol at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when children are on their return from school. And I think it's one of those matters that sensibly has to be contemplated, and a matter where an operator has to comply with the law and comply with the conditions of their licence. And it's a permissive regime in terms of licensing. And in the absence of evidence that it's given rise to crime and disorder or concerns of public nuisance, and I've referred you already to the Home Office guidance, it's one of those matters where my client, suitably conditioned, ought to have the benefit of that limited condition onto their licence. Is there anything else you'd like to say about it? I'm sorry, Chair, I was just asking my client if there was anything else in terms of that. In terms of my client's premises, they are premises that are wet-led premises, but provide significant food throughout the day. Food is available throughout their premises, and it is, when food is available, then that's delivered by waiter and waitress service. And so food orders taken at the table, but people may then stand at the bar and order their drinks as one would normally expect in these premises. But the degree of supervision is enhanced in premises where food is available, as you will appreciate, because you've got staff that are trained. Some additional conditions have been proposed today, and they're before you on a separate paper. Can I just say that the condition about limiting 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. is a condition that's been volunteered by the applicant, and one that we would ask you to adopt if you're with us in terms of that. In terms of the staff training proposed condition, we have
Can I interrupt you, please? We're going to have a condition session. So after we hear both sides. So would you like to hold out your comments till then?
My comments are very brief, in fact, Chair, but I'm happy to hold fire if you'd prefer.
Okay, if they're brief.
In terms of the training, we fully accept that and we adopt it. And in terms of the Challenge 25, again, we welcome Challenge 25, we fully adopt it, and so those are conditions which are absolutely positive and satisfactory to the applicant. Chair, I don't know if you'd have any questions of me in support of the application.
Are you finished?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I will first start with questions from the committee. Councillor Hud?
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Sorry. I have taken on everything you have said. I only have two questions. Three questions. What is the capacity of your restaurant?
If you bear with me, I'll just go to the plan, Councillor. I'm sorry for the delay. Normally I have it as a key on the plan, but the plan is so small on the printed version, it's too small for me to read. I'm trying to pull it up on a computer.
Again, not to worry. I struggled as well to look at that plan. I actually took a photo on my phone and then expanded on it. We can come back to it if you want. Once the objectives, we can come back to it, don't worry.
It's approximately 110 from the plans
Okay, 110.
of our seating capacity within the premises.
Okay, and the standing?
I don't have a standing capacity. It would be in line with the fire risk assessment that would then be conducted. It would have to sit under separate legislation
Sure.
alongside the premises.
Okay. And just going back to the same capacity, you said later on you'll apply for the tables and chairs license. And do you have any idea what the capacity will be outside?
Yes, in terms of capacity outside, again, if I look at the plan, then I've got 35 covers outside.
35, thank you. My next question is, am I right in thinking that you do not operate a policy of reservation? It's first come, first serve.
There will be some limited reservations in permit room, but then, because it's a wet-led premises, as in if you were to look at the split of wet-led and dry food, then wet sales are greater, then we don't have a policy of then making reservations for everyone that comes to our premises.
Right, okay. The other question I have is, why the request to have alcohol being served outside? I mean, if you have big enough premises, so why the urgency of, having it at 8 a.m. outside?
Some people might want to sit outside in good weather on a lovely sunny morning. And that's why. And this is an on and off license, and always has been. There, in terms of the tables and chairs regime that the council adopts, it adopts a terminal hour. It doesn't adopt a starting hour. And so we're not looking to depart from any hours for use outside, because there's none currently that's set within its policy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But the real reason is quite simply that a customer may want to sit outside if it was a lovely sunny morning and have a breakfast and perhaps a glass of prosecco between 8 and 10.
Right. Okay. And then okay. And just my one last thing is yes. This is just a point of difference. You say that one of the letters that was written was, you see children drinking, walking past the premises, and they'll see guests drinking at 3 a.m. So what's the difference at 8 a.m.? I think 3 p.m. Sorry, 3 p.m. Thank you, Chair. And what's the difference at 9 p.m.? I think at 9 a.m. it's still pretty early. So I can see the concern there. That's all.
It's often how an area is managed, is the reality, and this is something that's appropriately conditioned. What if somebody were to want a Bucks Fizz in the morning, an orange juice and champagne, or orange juice and prosecco? And again, my client fully accepts this isn't something that's advocated is going to happen day in and day out in his premises. But it's just, Portobello is a popular destination for people who are celebrating special occasions. And they may be coming to what's a worldwide destination. And some of it's romantic, some of it's just celebrating, some of it's just coming to visit something that's a beautiful part of the city. And in having that special occasion, somebody may want to avail themselves. We do it in Cambridge, where people equally will come to Cambridge and they'll want to visit Cambridge, a unique and historic university city. But there are those tourists, and it's often internationals, where sometimes it is something, it's a small something, and we're not for one moment suggesting that it's a stack it high, get it down your neck environment. It's certainly not at all, and that's why sensibly conditioned, it's something that is permissible. And I don't think, I didn't mean to be rude, actually, in my comment about what would happen, but, you know, children do pass restaurants day in and day out, and bars and clubs, and it's how things are properly managed and controlled. And here, you know, the application's before you quite sensibly. The police have been consulted. It doesn't give rise to those concerns that one would otherwise raise of crime, disorder and public nuisance.
No, fair point. You made that point. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Noor?
Thank you, Chair. I just have one or two questions and one clarification. I mean, the first one is, I know that you're not asking now till 11 o'clock, but how will you address the issue of customers taking drinks from inside to outside and the possible noise that will create?
I'm sorry, I missed the latter part of the question. I heard how would we prevent people taking their drinks inside and outside?
And possible noise which will affect the residents.
So, dealing with your first point, then it's an area that's going to be supervised by staff. On our busiest nights of the week, which are our Fridays and Saturdays, we have conditions on the licence that require us to have door staff, and that's a pre-existing condition on the licence. We don't seek to change that in any way. And also it's the way in which staff will be delegated to manage the outside area of the premises. So it's staff management and supervision, and making our customers aware that they will not be permitted to take their drinks out past a certain hour. In terms of how we would manage the outside area, then that's having table service where staff are then taking any food and drink items to the table, and having proper management and supervision of that area to be able to control it. And that would then include monitoring customers' behaviour. My clients are fully aware of their responsibilities under the 2003 Act, and fully aware that actually they're in an area where residents coexist with businesses such as theirs. I've already had an opportunity to engage with some of the interested parties this morning, for which I'm really grateful. We had an honest and conversation with each other this morning. My clients are the type of clients who are very willing to share their contact details of the general manager and the senior staff, so that in the event they have any concerns about the operation of my client's premises, they have direct recourse to them, not through me as a lawyer, but direct recourse. So there's that dialogue, because ultimately my clients want to be the good neighbour that they've demonstrated to be in every other location in which they operate.
My second question is about the smoking outside the premises. What's the numbers? Are they 6 or 10?
The number's 10. It's already conditioned on the licence. We don't seek to change that in any way. And you've heard from the licensing officer that in the past 2 years there's been no complaints of nuisance emanating from the use of the premises under a previous operator who's operated under those very same conditions. We don't seek to change the condition that's already on the licence. It's not a matter that's before the committee for consideration today.
Thank you. I mean, we know that business need to operate and residents need to have a rest. I mean, will you consider, or your client will consider, having a regular meeting with the residents, maybe once a year, twice a year?
It's very kind of you to suggest setting a meeting. We find it better that rather than setting, you have one occasion during the year to engage, that actually there's an open door policy, that the local residents and the local residents association have those contact details and have that access, whether it's an email address and a telephone number, and of course access to the premises themselves, where they can engage at any time, and that's a far better way of working and being good neighbour rather than setting in stone one calendar meeting per year, for example. So, and we've spoken today, and I think it's something that certainly of two of the interested parties I've spoken to today welcomed that ability to engage in dialogue. Because some of it is even outside of the Licensing Act 2003, of which we've been talking about this morning. But again, it's just having that dialogue between the operator and those that reside locally.
Yes, that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Noor. Can you give us, it's not clear what's going on there on the second floor. Can you explain what's going on there?
I did pull up my plan, sorry, Chair.
Yeah. I mean,
Chair, there is an apartment.
The issue is, why is it being licensed?
The second floor,
Yeah.
Chair, ought not to be part of the licensed area. I'm just going to the plan. Sorry, if you please forgive me just for one moment.
Yes, that was a bit of a,
If it has got a red line around it that suggests that otherwise it's going to be licensed, then we can seek to remove that. But I'm just putting it up on my screen. Oh, here we are. Here we are. Got it. So the second floor, Chair, is not to be licensed. So we can confirm that orally today, and we can submit a plan that doesn't have a red line on it after today. And I apologise if that's crept in there, because you'll know from the narrative that that's not to be a licensed area.
thank you, that's helpful. The other thing I wanted to ask, considering you want to open at 8, will you have a good selection of non-alcoholic cocktails, mocktails, and non-alcoholic Prosecco?
Yes, Chair.
And can the owner-manager confirm that, please?
Yes, definitely. We have an extensive variety of non-alcoholic drinks and non-alcoholic cocktails.
Okay, thank you very much. And the other questions were already answered. You could operate at 8 o'clock indoors only for 1 hour, couldn't you?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Next. Any questions from our legal officer?
Thank you, Chair. Just two. So you've clarified that the second floor doesn't form part of the licensed area, and the basement floor previously was part of the licensed area, but you're seeking to remove the red line, so the basement isn't licensed either. So can you just confirm it's just the ground and first floor that are covered by the licence now?
Yes, I confirm it is just the ground and the first floor that's to be licensed.
One more question. I mean, it may be for the conditions session, but when I was looking through the existing licence, existing condition 19, I'm just going to jump to it if you just bear with me. Existing condition 19, which you haven't sought to amend. Originally, you were seeking to amend the terminal end of it.
So
it's going to affect your off sales, isn't it? The times it can start outside.
We have sought to amend it because the application at its very outset says we seek to bring forward the hours for sale of alcohol inside and outside to 8 a.m. And so if you look at the body of the application that was before you, it's within that.
What page am I looking at?
Page number 29, says supply of alcohol is ticked there. And then again, if you look at page 30, under J, then will supply of alcohol be for consumption on the premises, off the premise, or both? Then it's indicated that it's both there. So it is, The point perhaps you're making is it could have expressly said, and you seek to change condition 19. I suppose legally I'd be saying to you, we've sought to do it, and I apologise if perhaps that was clumsy, and we could have also said, and we seek to change condition 19.
Can I just get Mr. Williams' view on this? It may be something I have to go away and think about. Are you satisfied that an implied 8 a.m. starts, even though condition 19 restricts it to 9 a.m., are you satisfied that that wouldn't need to be expressly advertised? Or do you think that it's implicit in the application? I mean, obviously it's something I can go away and have a look at as well, but I just wanted your thoughts, please.
My opinion would be that it's implied in the application at this point, because it's clear that they want alcohol sales from 0800 outside. So it would be inferred that that condition would need to be changed.
Thank you, that's useful.
Might I just add that that element was advertised as well in terms of the hours that were sought, so it wasn't, it was brought to the attention in the public notices.
As part of the original application that was withdrawn. Yeah, I think I was focusing on the, because you were talking about the terminal aspect of it, not the 9 a.m., 8 a.m. aspect of it. But thank you, that's useful. Thank you, that's all my questions for now.
Before you start your presentation, do you have any questions of the applicant? Any? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I have a few questions about the breakfast offer, and I'd like to know what alcoholic drinks will be included on the breakfast menu.
It will be a menu of fruit juices, but alcoholic drinks there will be just beers, the Prosecco and wine. And there isn't a separate, we wouldn't have any, we would have a very limited amount of drinks actually on the breakfast menu. I think it is just one alcoholic cocktail called, and the selection of non-alcoholic cocktails, but people could look at the normal drinks menu if they'd asked if they wanted Prosecco. So we certainly wouldn't be advertising lots of alcohol for breakfast.
Thank you, Chair. I've had a look at the menu for the Brighton and Cambridge branches. The breakfast menu for those two restaurants includes 4 spirit-based alcoholic cocktails and no non-alcoholic cocktails, no beer or Prosecco on the menu. So am I right in assuming that that would be different? But I had a second question, but you answered it, that regardless of what's on the breakfast menu, you would be offering the full drinks menu from 8 a.m. if your application is successful.
Yeah, if someone asked for it, we would do that. But it's very, very rare that people are drinking that early in the morning at any of our restaurants or cafes.
Chair, may I also just confirm that your breakfast menu is going to be different then from the one that's available currently in Cambridge and Brighton, which only has the 4 spirit-based cocktails on the breakfast menu?
We haven't written the menu yet. All of the menus are different for all of our permit rooms and restaurants.
They do look exactly the same for Brighton and Cambridge, however. And can I just ask one further question? You talked about this being a wet-led establishment, and certainly that is reflected in its category as a bar/cafe on the websites for the other branches. If you are serving alcohol only with food, how will you achieve that balance of being a wet-led establishment, particularly in the morning, whilst requiring food to be consumed with alcohol?
So, Chair, when something is a wet-led establishment, you're not looking at one moment of time during the course of trade. So, for example, you don't look at only between the hours of 8 and 10 a.m. Overall, this is a wet-led establishment and will be, whether alcohol is offered between 8 and 10 or not. The only way in which we've presented that to you is by submitting that actually it would be a requirement during those hours that substantial food be taken because that just detracts away from any risk that this would just become a vertical drinking establishment in the early hours of the day. It would prohibit that from happening completely. And I do understand, and just in terms of this interested parties' questions, when I look at this interested parties' representation at page 42, it is limited only to use of the outside area beyond 10 p.m. It doesn't extend to use of the premises between 8 and 10. And the interested parties must confine themselves to the basis of their representations, as we know.
Just to say, Chair, that I did clarify with the officer before that I would be permitted to ask questions beyond the scope of my objections, but I do understand that anything that I say in support of my objections in my allotted 10 minutes will be focused on the particular objection that I made.
Thank you. So just to clarify, you are saying just as per percentage of gross sales, you are wet lead. That doesn't mean the whole day is wet lead. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, that would be when you're looking at an operation of a premises, what's its primary use? And it's across the whole period of trade, not just times in isolation.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Okay, now for the... Oh, yes. Did you have a question?
So, hello. So I'm your nearest neighbours, basically. I'm in the Colville area. Welcome you to the area. I do think it is extremely unfortunate that you are a wet-led establishment, because we have a long history of problems with alcohol in that particular area. And the particular area that you're in, which is just by the island, the gents' toilet, is an area where the police, unfortunately, have been completely unable to control the misuse of alcohol and drugs. And what has happened is that...
Excuse me, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll speak next.
Well, I thought that I could give my case. I can't do that?
You can after we finish the question.
Oh, okay. Then no, I don't. I'll do it later.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other questions from the objectors? No? Okay. Now we'll start with the objector's case, and please can you present your submissions. Mrs. Sophia Lambert, please start.
Thank you, Chair. I represent the Ladbroke Association, which is the amenity and conservation society for the area, which includes that part of the Portobello Road. And we welcome, I should say I'm also speaking on behalf of my colleague from the Pembridge Association, who couldn't be present but was also an objector. We generally welcome the arrival of Dishoom, which from everything I've seen and heard is a well-run and popular establishment. We also welcome the fact that they've withdrawn their application to extend their evening hours so that they are now in line with the vast majority of other establishments on Portobello Road. We do remain concerned, however, about the proposal to start selling alcohol at 8 a.m. I'll leave my colleague, my co-objector, Teresa Hastings, to expand on that, since she's a resident and is much closer to it than I am. But I hesitate to mention this because you always try to slap me down. But there is a question of precedent. I know that each application is decided on its merits. Nevertheless, in the real world, if you allow this to start at 8 a.m., and somebody else comes along and says, we want to sell cocktails at 8 a.m., you're going to find it much harder to resist it. So we are concerned that we can try and keep the hours in Portobello roughly in sync. It is a residential area. It's also a market area. Both of them could have problems if there's alcohol as early as that. So we maintain our objection. In particular, if it's served outside, that would really be a big problem for us. I think that's probably all I need to say. Let me think, is there anything else? Yeah, I should just say that We are aware this is a wet-led establishment. Nevertheless, we understand that the USP of Dishoom permit rooms are these wonderful snacks they serve. That they don't, if there isn't a table, people may well want to wait outside for one. So we do foresee problems with queuing on a very narrow pavement. It's not for this committee, we understand, but we would like to put down a marker that that is something that is likely to be of concern to us.
Thank you very much. Now, Ms. Hastings?
So just to continue from where I was before, so that particular area by the toilets the police have not been, I think both Sophia and I are members of the local police safety panel, and we know that there have been huge efforts to control that particular area. What we have found is that having quite a glamorous establishment where people are outside enjoying themselves drinking or inside drinking acts as a kind of a honeypot. It draws people to that particular area. They stand in the street, they stand in the middle island. Unfortunately, drugs are sold there. It's just something that hasn't really been able to be controlled. And I'm sorry, but I think to start selling alcohol from 8 o'clock in the morning is just going to be contributing to actually what is frequently mayhem, particularly Fridays and Saturdays, but actually every single day of the week in the summer months in that area. It's just for the residents, for visitors who are in wheelchairs or with prams, it's a nightmare corner. I just, as Sophia has said, I think it's setting a precedent to other establishments. We have enough problems with alcohol sales as it is. People who will go to Sainsbury's or Tesco's to buy alcohol and then stand outside the premises. This is just the history every summer. So yeah, we residents of Colville, your neighbours, will be strongly against it, I'm afraid.
Ms. Griffin.
Thank you, Chair. I have nothing to add to my objections, as those have already been taken account of by the applicant. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for your consideration. Okay, any questions from the committee to the objectors? Councillor Hudd?
No, thank you, Chair.
Councillor Noor?
No question, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, and I wanted to say that I wanted to ask, do you have objections to mocktails? Non-alcoholic drinks, because I just wanted to mention to you that in the industry, 30% alcohol sales are down in London, in Kensington and Chelsea, and nationwide by 30%. I just wanted to make a note of that. That's why I was asking about mocktails and non-alcoholic provision. Okay. And did you anticipate a lot of activity at 8 a.m. of drunk people, or?
Drunk people, I don't know, but certainly action starts. I mean, it gets very busy at 8 o'clock in the morning in that particular location. I mean, you've chosen a humdinger of a spot, and it's a fantastic spot. And I think Dishoom is a great, I've eaten in your cafes, I think you're great. And, I just want you to be aware of the history of the area, which includes riots in that particular area, which you'll no doubt know about. So as residents, and particularly Colville houses, which is like overflow for Dishoom, which will be Dishoom, or as the dispensary before and the pub before that, it is an issue for us. So it's like, please be aware. I am happy that you are going to have security guards on your doors, but it is an unusual area. You'll find out this as the summer proceeds.
Excellent. Yes, Mrs. Lambert.
Yes, just to add to that, it's also the time when market stalls are being set up, and that's a busy period as well, and there is a market stall on that corner, and indeed on the opposite corner as well. So that could be a problem as well. There is very little space there, even though it looks as though there's the minimum. In practice, it just needs one market stall to overstep a bit, or one person to go across their outside of their area, and you've got problems.
Great, thank you for pointing that out. Now, any questions from our legal officer?
Just one question. There aren't market stalls down Talbot Road, but along Portobello Road, is that correct?
Sorry?
Are there market stalls along Talbot Road? Because that's where most of the tables and chairs are outside.
There are no market stalls up, which road is it? It's the side road. No, it's only on Portobello Road, but it's on the immediate corner, and it's a popular one too.
But what you have in Talbot Road, which runs in line with Dishoom, is the gents' toilets, and then there's bicycle ramps for parking. And so what happens, particularly in the summer months, but just when it's warm, is that people sit there. They sit on the bicycle ramps, and it just becomes like a social hub. It is literally, there's no other, it is a honeypot. And, you know, people, if they're seeing alcohol, if they're seeing people enjoying themselves at the shoe, it's just going to be a cheaper way of joining the party. So, I mean, that's what happens. So
this may be a question for the applicant, but the premises hasn't opened yet. When are they likely to open?
Would you like me to answer that? Sorry. So, yes, end of April is when our premises will be opening. Am I able to make just an observation about some of the questioning? Some of the questioning or answers seems designed to concentrate upon the tables and chairs licence, and it was only to say that clearly we're not convened today to talk about the tables and chairs licence.
Correct.
And so the members of the committee will be aware of how to deal with the information that you hear then. And
the tables and chairs, obviously the licence is separate, it's dealt with highways, and it's to place tables and chairs on the highway. Your application, particularly in relation to the off sales, is to drink alcohol within those areas. So that's what the difference is. The committee, it's completely separate, the pavement licence.
Yes.
We're just focusing on the 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock off sales inside and outside, and the amended plans, which you said are uncontroversial.
Yes, and the off-sale in that area is something that will have taken place in the hours beyond 10 o'clock until 10 p.m. And we're aware that in a 2-year period of time, there is no record of complaint to the licensing authority. And indeed, we're aware from the absence of representation by the Metropolitan Police that that area hasn't given rise to the concerns that are perceived during its busiest time of use. And we're talking about some limited scope use between 8 and 10, if that helps.
Correct. I mean, this is a variation application. You've got your existing licence. We can't take away what they've already got. We've just got to focus on the issues in hand, and you can only add conditions which are appropriate and proportionate to what they're applying for. So we can't go to town, basically.
What do you want to say?
Just like the lady.
Councillor Hyde would like to make a point, please.
Ms. Hastings, I just wanted to say, I understand as a resident your concern of, you know, all the activities that already go on with young people hanging around with cans of beers or whatever at the bike stand. But unfortunately, there can't be any link between the applicant and what the behavior of just, passers-by or local residents is. I just wanted to highlight that, but I do understand your concern.
No, I appreciate that. I understand that, but it still can't be ignored. And I'm afraid, so in terms of alcohol being sold at 8 o'clock, either outside or inside, I just think it's too early, too soon. There's enough. There is enough alcohol in the area, and it does start very early in the area, and I don't think you can ignore it. It's not an island.
Yeah, that's versus one's opinion, right? Moral versus technical.
Yeah.
But I do understand where you're coming from. Thank you.
Mrs. Lambert.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted a point of clarification from perhaps from the legal advisor. There's currently a license to sell alcohol both inside and outside the premises. Whether it starts at 8 or 10, that is there. If they apply for a tables and chairs license, can there be a condition that trumps that by saying that alcohol should not be served at the tables outside within certain hours?
They're completely two separate regimes, so they've got to be kept separate. I mean, obviously, like I said earlier on, we can't take away what they've got on the existing licence, and I think it's till 10 p.m. outside anyway. And I think ordinarily our pavement licences usually terminate at 10 p.m. anyway, but obviously it's...
Beginning we're talking about.
Yes.
I mean, if the tables and chairs licence begins at... Usually they start later, but if it were to begin at 8... would not be possible to impose a condition saying that between 8 and 10 there should be no alcohol outside?
Well, that's what we're discussing today, whether or not there should be alcohol outside. That is what the committee are going to be deciding upon today.
Yes.
So that the tables and chairs licence will be to physically place the tables and chairs outside. That's
so
the
they can't
aspect.
impose a condition?
So again?
They can't impose a condition on the sale of alcohol?
No, but we could turn it down.
We're talking about extending alcohol sales outside between 8 and 10. That's what today's about.
Yes.
At present, I think it's 10 o'clock 10 o'clock Monday to Saturday, 12 o'clock Sundays. They can sell alcohol outside, and they want to bring it forward to 8 o'clock. That's what today's all about, the 8 to 10 o'clock.
Can I help? There is no power under the tables and chairs licence regime to restrict the sales of alcohol, because that regime only extends, as the lawyer says, to placing the table or chair on the highway. So it would be this committee that would determine that question of whether alcohol could be sold during those times, if that helps.
I think that is indeed the answer. I rather feared.
Sorry, I probably didn't say it very clearly. I thought that's what I was saying, but maybe not.
Don't worry, that's why we're here today, to discuss that point. And we hear you loud and clear.
I'm very deaf and I don't always hear you loud and clear, so if I'm
maybe you should get an AirPod Pro. It's working very well.
Right.
It's fantastic. And I'm not being paid by Apple. Okay. At this stage, I'd like to ask our legal officer to deal with the draft conditions and any other queries she may have.
Thank you. I think we've probably covered this already, really. You circulated this document yesterday. As I explained earlier on, the applicant already has an existing licence. We can't take away what they've got. We've got to focus our conditions discussion on the issue in hand, which is effectively amending the plans and the 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock on and off sales. The applicant offered to tie alcohol sales between those times to food. I've suggested wording which I'd also do one for off sales as well to cover the outside area. Is the solicitor and the applicant happy with my suggested wording to apply to on and off sales? Off sales being obviously the outside area.
Yes, we are happy with that proposed wording.
Okay. So if the committee were minded to grant, any sales of alcohol between 8 o'clock and 10 a.m. inside and on any off sales, so the outside area, would have to be served to customers who are seated at tables and ancillary to a table meal. So it's not vertical drinking and it's not alcohol only or a seated bar. It's kind of like a restaurant type condition. So do you have any comments on that at all?
Nothing other than what I've already said for myself. I think you know how I feel.
Thank you. I think the applicant's already confirmed that they're happy, because I just noticed on the existing condition, on the existing licence, there wasn't staff training or challenge 25, but I think you've indicated that you're happy with adding that.
Yes, Chair.
The only other thing which was touched on, but I think you've already answered, I think somebody suggested possibly having a residents' meeting. We do have like a condition, but I don't know what your thoughts are on that. But I know you've got the DPS telephone number and you've said you have an open door policy. Would you be amenable to having like a residents type condition, hosting a meeting with residents twice a year, just notifying the local residents associations?
My client doesn't object to such a condition. But my only feedback was the open door policy is one that generally works better. But we're in your hands, Chair.
Any comments?
Yeah, I mean, the residents of the whole area, we're sort of quite a close network. We sort of hold together. And in the past, if we've had concerns with issues, like with the dispensary, it happened a few times, we just connected directly with the gentleman who was running the dispensary and arranged meetings which we had, you know, at the premises and to discuss our concerns. And that seemed to work quite well.
Okay, I mean, obviously this is a different operator, but so are you saying that you're happy not to have an additional residents meeting condition? You're happy just to rely on contact them directly?
Well, I'm just saying that if we have concerns, I don't know what Sophia thinks. Sophia, you go.
Yes, we have arrangements of that sort. I mean, I think there's one with the Gold further up Portobello Road and also with one of the newer establishments in Notting Hill Gate. In our experience, they can be useful, but usually hardly anybody turns up. And so I can't say we're sort of dead set on that, but we would like to have an open door policy and meetings with the group meetings with the establishment if there are real problems.
So the open door policy wouldn't really be a condition as such, it would just be you contacting the applicant directly, so you're happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll leave it for the
Can
committee.
I say something? Considering everything before us, why, I understand what you're saying, and you seem to agree on that point, but it might make sense to have an annual meeting. I'm just throwing that out, so that at least you're guaranteed one annual meeting a year. What do you think of that, Mrs. Lambert?
No harm in it, and I think marginally, yes, it would be a good idea.
I think it clarifies the
Yeah.
mind. Do you all agree with that? So let's call one annual meeting a year.
Well, obviously you're going to private
We'll discuss
session
it.
to discuss whether
Are
you're
you
going to
happy
grant
with
this or
that?
not.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll discuss it, but I'm just throwing it out.
I haven't got anything else further to add,
But
unless anybody else.
in addition, to have an open door so that if there are concerns, that we can actually approach you and, yeah, that would...
Always.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, we don't have to condition that, but we can put it in for information.
I think if you're minded to grant, you can either add a residence condition once a year or not, and they can rely on just informal open policy. That's something for you to consider in private
Right,
session.
okay, thank you. Okay, do our licensing officers have anything to add?
Nothing to add, thank you, Chair.
And our governance officers, anything?
Nothing from us. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Well, we've reached the end of this meeting. I thank you all for your participation. The committee now has all the information needed, and we will retire to make our decision in private session. We will not announce the decision today. Instead, the hearing will be closed. A summary determination will be sent to the parties within 5 working days of today's hearing, and a full decision will follow as soon as possible thereafter. The time limit for appealing the decision will not commence until the full decision has been sent to the parties. Thank you all for attending, and the hearing is now closed.